Hey, I'm Michael from the Mr. Crafty Pants YouTube channel and MrCraftyPants.com, where I show you tips, tricks, and tutorials on how to use and master your Cricut cutting machine. And this is OcTAYber. Now y'all, I'm doing a little miniature series during OcTAYber where every single Tuesday I'm showing you a different episode where I am transforming my parents' front porch for Halloween with ShopAuntieTay.com products, the Auntie Tay Craft Day Creator Membership for SVGs, fonts, and illustrations, as well as the Auntie Tay x Mr. Crafty Pants pattern vinyl and HTV collection. And yes, I know that could have technically fit into the ShopAuntieTay.com product category, but y'all, I'm just so excited. This is my baby. There are 32 patterns in this collection. 32 patterns that are available in a permanent adhesive vinyl, as well as an HTV, aka heat transfer vinyl. And y'all, I am just so obsessed with these patterns. They are in a Halloween collection. However, not all of them are tied down to just Halloween. There are quite a few of those that I actually made to be universal, where you could use them pretty much any time of the year. So be sure to check all those out and also use the code CRAFTY to save yourself 10% on your entire order from ShopAuntieTay.com. Now, as far as today's project, y'all, I'm so excited because we are making a vertical leaner sign for the front porch, as well as a door hanger. So without further ado, let's get crafty. All right, so for our door hangers, I'm using a few different items. So first of all, I'm using this wooden pumpkin cutout from Woodpecker's Crafts, and I am also using this 12-inch round disc, also from Woodpecker's Crafts. So this is 12-inch round, and I believe it's a 1/4 inch thick, and I believe this is like the 10 or 11-inch pumpkin, also from there. I am also using the Auntie Tay x Mr. Crafty Pants patterned vinyl collection. Y'all, I've worked so hard on this collection and it feels like a baby of mine, and I'm so excited. But we will be using a few different patterns. The first being the Mad About Plaid in pitch black, the Sweet Spot in black and white, and also Sweet Spot in white and black. I'm also using the chalked up paint from ShopAuntieTay.com. This is the Tangerine, and this one right here is Espresso. And last but not least, I am also using an SVG file from the Craft Day Creator Membership from AuntieTay.com. So let's jump over there right now and I'll show you the exact SVG file that I'm planning on downloading and using for this. All right, so here I am on the homepage of AuntieTay.com, and I'm using my Craft Day Creator Membership for this, which is, let's be honest, it's an amazing deal. It's only like $8 per month for personal use projects, and that includes thousands of SVG files and hundreds of fonts, and it's just all around amazing. Like, love it. So if you are not a member and you want to become a member, just come over here to where it says members, click that, and then come down here and select become a member. And as you can see, here are the different pricing tiers. This is the $8 Craft Day Creator Membership. Here is also a $25 business membership. And if you're wanting to use the files for commercial use whenever it's applicable, then that's $13 per month, which is insanely affordable, y'all. I can't. It's so good. All right, so I'm gonna come back up here and select SVGs, and then come down here and click on Holiday SVGs. As you can see here, all the different holidays are basically represented with these different icons. So Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Easter, you get it. But I'm going to select the Halloween SVG file right there. And I'm just going to scroll down here and let's see, I am looking for this SVG file right here, this Trick or Treat SVG file. So I'm going to select that, let that download. And since I am using a Chrome browser, it went ahead and downloaded right here to the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. I'm going to select that and it's just going to open up right there for me. All right, so now I'm going to come over here to Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to come right over here to the left-hand side of the page, click on Upload, and then I'm going to click on Upload Image and then Browse. And then I'm going to search for Trick or Treat, and then just open that right on up, click on Save, and here it is in our recently uploaded images. So now I'm going to select that and then come down here towards the bottom right-hand corner and select Insert Images. And here we go. So here's the thing though, I am not planning on actually cutting out the pumpkin itself. What I'm actually planning on doing, which I'm so excited about, is actually painting this wooden pumpkin and letting that serve in that pumpkin's place. So I'm going to paint this to represent basically the same colors as the one that we're seeing here on our canvas. And then I'm actually going to apply the trick or treat with these spiders on top of this. And then, well, I don't want to give too much away because I'm really excited for this project. But anyway, what I'm actually going to do is come over here to the right hand side of the page to the layers panel, click this little eye icon right there, and that's going to hide that pumpkin layer. And then as far as this layer goes, I'm actually going to come down here towards the bottom right hand corner, click on contour, and I'm going to remove that stem. So as you can see here, that stem is now gone. And now what I'm also going to do is right click this SVG file, or what's remaining of the SVG file. I'm going to select duplicate, and then I'm going to come down here towards the bottom right hand corner, select contour again, and I'm basically wanting to remove everything. I want to leave only the spiders essentially. So I'm going to click on hide all contours. Whenever you click on hide all contours, it always leaves at least one layer showing. For whatever reason, in this case, it left the stem, which we've already removed. So let me come over here and click on a spider, and then I can come up here and remove that stem again. And let's just click on all of these spiders, just like that. There we go. And now I want to click on this other layer, and then also come down here towards the bottom right hand corner and select contour. And I'm going to go through and remove all of those spiders. And you might be wondering, well, if you're going to get the same outcome, then why go through the process of doing that? Which is a good question. So what I'm actually planning on doing is doing a different color for the spiders than I am for the actual trick or treat, okay? So for the actual spiders, I'm just gonna leave them black, and I'm actually gonna cut those out on this sweet spot in black and white, this pattern right here. Now, as far as where it says trick or treat, I'm gonna cut that out on sweet spot in the white and black. So this pattern right here. So let's come up here, let's actually click where it says trick or treat, and let's come up here towards the top left-hand corner, click on that little color swatch, and let's change this to white. And that white we know is going to represent this pattern right here. All right, so now what I'm actually going to do is create a template for this pumpkin right here. So basically what I'm going to do is take the measurements down to this pumpkin and kind of sort of create a template for this. Now obviously we're not going to get an exact template for a pumpkin that's this shape, but we're going to get pretty close, or at least something that's going to be workable. Okay, so I'm just grabbing my ruler, and it looks like the width of this pumpkin at its widest part is about 11 inches. Now, as far as the height, now we don't want to count in the stem. The stem is not going to matter here since we're not using the stem as an actual surface for our vinyl. But about the height for the pumpkin as a whole is about 7 3/4 of an inch. All right, so what I'm actually going to do is come over here to the left-hand side of the page, click on shapes. Let's open up an octagon. How about that? And just to represent our pumpkin, I'm going to come up here towards the top left-hand corner, click on the color swatch, and change that color to orange. Now, the color of this doesn't amount to a hill of beans, but it helps us visualize what the end result's going to look like, which I like to do. All right, so now let's resize this to resemble our pumpkin. It's not going to really resemble it, but it's going to serve the purpose. So to do that, I'm coming up here towards the top of the canvas. Right up here where it says size, I'm going to unlock that little padlock so that we can have a different measurement for the width versus the height. For that width, I'm going to put in here 11 for 11 inches. And then for the height, I'm going to put in here 7.75 for 7 3/4 of an inch. All right. So let me just right click this octagon and then come down here and select send to back. And we can now essentially resize this to fit appropriately onto our pumpkin. Let me actually hold down my command key. I'm gonna select where it says trick or treat, so that way both of these layers are selected. And I'm gonna come up here towards the top right hand corner and select group. That way we can actually resize both of these layers collectively. I think that's really gonna work out well. All right, so we don't need this octagon anymore, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete that out. And now let's go ahead and cut out our layers here, and then we'll go from there and actually paint our pumpkin with chalk paint. All right, so as far as our base material settings go for our pattern vinyl, I actually love to use the premium vinyl selection. So to do that, I'm gonna come over here and select browse all materials. And if you are using a Cricut Explorer, just turn your dial over to custom and this page should pop up for you, no problem. But I'm gonna select browse all materials and then just search for premium. And I'm just gonna select premium vinyl right there. And then come down here towards the bottom right hand corner and select done. All right, so while that's cutting out, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out this layer of vinyl right here. That's gonna be applied to this 12-inch round disc. Now, here's the thing, it's 12 inches round. If I was going to cut this out to be 12 inches round, the maximum cutting size for a Cricut cutting mat, or for the Cricut period, is 11.5 inches wide. Now we could slice it and go through all that. Personally, I would rather just cut this out by hand, essentially. And to do that, that's why I actually have this self-healing cutting mat right here. So I'm actually gonna put this vinyl right here onto our cutting mat. I'm actually gonna grab our wooden disc, lay that right over top of our vinyl, and then I'm just gonna grab my True Control knife or X-Acto knife, and then just make the marks around this. Alright, so here is our pumpkin all painted with the chalked up paint, and I have given this a couple coats of a polyurethane as well to help seal all the paint in and to also help the vinyl apply to it a whole lot easier. So now what I'm actually going to do is weed out my vinyl that I cut out and go ahead and apply it to the pumpkin. Alright, so I have all my vinyl weeded out, so now I'm just grabbing the masking tape, transfer tape from shopauntie.com, pulling off just a little bit, and I'm just grabbing my trick or treat layer right here and then applying it face first onto this. Then I'm just ripping off the masking tape, transfer tape, grabbing my squeegee tool, and I'm also grabbing a piece of parchment paper, applying this vinyl down to that, and then laying it on top of the pumpkin until I get the placement perfectly right. Alright, so I'm going to pull back the transfer tape with the vinyl, pull the parchment paper back a little bit, and then lay down part of the vinyl with the transfer tape. I do have a full tutorial on this over on my channel if you want to check that out. It really is a game changer for not only just applying your vinyl to a surface, but also when it comes to layering vinyl as well. Alright, so here is our vinyl on our wooden pumpkin, and y'all, I'm basically obsessed with how this looks so far, but we're about to kick it up a notch because we're about to apply this vinyl right here onto this wooden disc right here. Now I have applied a polyurethane, a glossy polyurethane over this disc. I've given it a couple coats, and this is gonna be perfectly ready to apply any type of permanent adhesive vinyl to. As far as applying our pumpkin to this, I'm actually just going to grab a hot glue gun and go at it from there. Okay, so for our vertical sign, I'm using this bad boy right here. I actually got this from JOANN'S. It's currently in the Halloween section, although there's nothing Halloween about this whatsoever. I am also going to be using some of the Auntie Tay x Mr. Crafty Pants patterned vinyl collection. You can shop that at the link down in that description box below. I love those patterns, obviously, because, well, I created them. On top of that, I am also using the infamous masking tape, transfer tape, also from shopauntie.com. And we're also going to be using an SVG file and a font from the Craft Day Creator membership from Auntie.com. So let's jump into it. Alright, so for starters, I'm on Auntie.com, and I'm going to go ahead and use the Craft Day Creator membership to download my SVG files and my font files. So let's start with SVGs. So I'm going to come right over here and select SVGs, this option right here. And just hovering over top of it, you can already see that this little drop down menu, or I guess in this situation, a drop up menu, I can go ahead and select Holiday SVGs. And here are all the different icons that represents the different holidays. But I'm going to select Halloween right here. And I'm going to grab this pumpkin SVG bundle right here. And as you can see, all I had to do was click on that once and it automatically downloaded that zip file for me. I mean, could not be easier. Now, since I am using a Chrome browser, it is right here at the bottom left-hand corner of my screen. All I have to do is click on that to unzip that folder, and it will end up right there in my downloads folder. But before we move on, I'm actually going to head over here to the font section by just coming back up here towards the top of the screen and selecting fonts right there. And if we just scroll right down here, I am looking for the font called Letter Girls because that's the one that I'll be using for today's project. And here it is right here. So I'm just going to select that. And as you can see, just one click download. Here it is at the bottom left-hand corner of my screen, that zip file. So I'm going to select that. And here that file is right here in my downloads folder. So I'm going to double click that. So since I am using a Mac, this popped up and it's asking me if I am wanting to install that font, which I am. So I'm gonna select that. Now, I know this process is pretty similar if you're using like a Windows or like a PC computer. It's gonna look a little bit different, but still the same general premise. All right, so now that we have our SVG file and our font file downloaded, I'm gonna head over here to Cricut Design Space and we'll get started designing this. All right, so here we are on the Cricut Design Space canvas, and let's be real, I love making templates for anything that I'm actually applying a decal or HTV to. That is nothing new with me. To me, it's just the absolute easiest way to get the perfect sizing for your particular surface. And for this particular sign, I've already measured out the white base of this sign, and it was 7.75 inches wide and 29.75 inches tall. So that is exactly the size of the template that I'm going to make inside the Cricut Design Space. So I'm going to come right over here to the left-hand side of the page, click on Shapes, and we are going to open up a square. And this has zero bearing on our final design, on our final project, but I'm gonna go ahead and change the color of this just because I find it just a little bit easier to visualize the end result. So to do that, I'm gonna come up here towards the top left-hand corner, click on this little color swatch and change that to white. And now I'm actually going to change the size to fit the exact measurements of the surface that we're applying this to. So to do that, I'm coming up here towards the top of the canvas, right here where it says size, and I am going to change that width to 7.75 inches for 7 3/4 of an inch. Now, as you can see, since this little padlock right here is locked, it went ahead and changed that height to be 7.75 inches as well. And that's obviously just not going to do. So I'm going to unlock that padlock, put in here 29.75. And that is the exact size of the surface that we're applying our vinyl to. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock that little padlock back to lock those proportions back in. And I'm gonna come over here to the left-hand side of the page and click on Upload. All right, so as you can see, right here is our recently uploaded image of those jack-o'-lanterns. So I'm gonna select that and then come down here towards the bottom right-hand corner and select Insert Images. There we go. So I'm just gonna move these pumpkins off to the side for now. We'll come back to those here in just a second. But for now, I'm gonna come up back over here to the left-hand side of the page and click on Text. Inside of this little text box, I'm gonna type in spooky, but I'm gonna type in one letter, hit enter, type in another, hit enter, and keep going down that way. Just like that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just drag this text right up here and resize that by clicking on this little resize handle right here at the bottom right-hand corner of this text, and then just dragging that outwards. So as you can see, the text isn't perfectly centered now, is it? Now we could fix this a couple different ways. What I think is probably the easiest way to go about fixing that is just by coming up here towards the top of the canvas, selecting alignment, and then selecting center, just like that. And then we can always go in there and make a couple of additional tweaks if we needed to. All right, so what I'm gonna go ahead and do before I do anything else to the text is actually change out that font to be the font that we just downloaded from the Auntie Crafty Creator membership. So to change out the font, I'm coming up here towards the top left-hand corner, selecting font, and I want to come right over here and select system. And that was called Letter Girls. So right here in this little search bar, I'm just type in letter, and it's already popping up for us. There it is right there. So I'm going to select that and drag that right over here on top of our sign. Now I'm gonna go ahead and click this little resize handle and drag that out a little bit further. And I'm not loving the spacing between these letters, are you? Again, the quickest, probably easiest way to fix this is to come right up here towards the top of the canvas again, right here where it says line space. And I'm gonna click on that little down arrow. And as you can see, each time that I click that, those letters are getting closer and closer and closer. This is just a really quick way to make some adjustments to it. All right, so I'm actually gonna go ahead and resize this word again. And I think that's looking pretty good. So now let's move on to the pumpkins, okay? So I'm actually going to replace these O's with pumpkins. The reason I left the O's in here when I typed this out is just to make sure that I got the spacing the way that I needed it to be. All right, so I'm gonna grab these pumpkins. And as you can see right over here on the right-hand side of the page in the layers panel, this SVG file or this group or bundle of jack-o'-lanterns are grouped together. A real quick way to fix that is just by coming up here and selecting ungroup. And now we can actually grab each of the pumpkins and then move them wherever we want them to be on the canvas. I'm really liking how this one right here is looking. So I'm actually going to resize them a little bit by grabbing this little resize handle and then just dragging that outwards. And just to get the right sizing, I'm leaving those O's in there for the time being, just so I can line this up the right way. Now it is a little difficult to see, isn't it? Because it is black on black. So to fix that, while the pumpkin is selected, I'm gonna come up here towards the top left-hand corner, click on that color swatch, and let's change that to orange. All right, so that's about the right height, the same height as that O. All right, so that's looking pretty good. All right, so let's come back over here and select another pumpkin out. And I think I like this one right here. So let's go ahead and change the color of him real quick. Let's come up here towards the top left-hand corner, click that color swatch, and let's do a darker orange this time because ultimately these pumpkins are gonna cut out on different types of vinyl. And I definitely want those to be on different mats. So I'm gonna go ahead and resize them a little bit, drag him right over here on top of our template, and then just resize him to be right at the same height as those letters. All right, so we have those pumpkins in place, but let's make sure that it looks okay once those O's are gone. And so to do that, I'm coming over here to the right-hand side of the page again, to the layers panel, and let's just scroll through here and find that text box. All right, so here is that text box right there. Let's go ahead and come up here towards the top right-hand corner and select ungroup. All right, so as we can see, each of those letters are now on its own layer, and we can actually go through here and find those O's, and then click this little eye icon to the right-hand side of that layer. And just by doing that, it completely removes that O from the canvas. We still have it in case we need to go back and revert back to it, but as for right now, it's completely off the canvas and we don't have to worry about that anymore. I think that's overall looking really good. All right, so again, I want each of these letters and each of these pumpkins to be cut out on a different type of pattern vinyl. Now, in my opinion, the easiest way to go about doing that is just by changing the color of each of the layers, okay? And each color will represent a different type of vinyl. And by doing that, it's actually gonna cut it out on a different cutting mat altogether. So I'm gonna click one of these letters. Let's actually just keep that one black. That one's fine. Let's click on this P, and then let's come up here towards the top corner, click the color swatch, and this could really just be any color as long as it doesn't match any of the other colors on our canvas. Let's come down here and click on K and do the same thing. And the same thing with Y. All right, so we don't need that template anymore, do we? This white rectangle back here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just select that and then select this red X, and we're good to go. We can go ahead and cut this out exactly the way we want it to be cut out. So I'm gonna come up here towards the top right-hand corner and select Make It. And since we are just using permanent adhesive vinyl, you do not want to mirror your designs. So I'm gonna come down here towards the bottom right-hand corner and select Continue. All right, so whenever it comes time to actually set your base material, personally, I always like to cut out my vinyl set on the premium vinyl setting. Now, if you are using a Cricut Explorer and you don't see this page pop up for you, just turn your dial over to custom and that should fix that issue, no problem. But what I'm actually gonna do is come up here towards the top right-hand corner and select Browse All Materials. And I'm just gonna do a search for premium. And I'm just gonna select premium vinyl and then come down here towards the bottom right-hand corner and select Done. And always, always, always do your test cuts, especially if it is a new material or a new blade. The last thing that you want to do is actually cut out a pretty large design on something, only to find out later that it didn't cut deep enough or it cut way too deep. So please, please, please do your test cuts, not only with your material cut settings, but also with your pressure settings as well. All right, so now just grab a weeding tool and start weeding everything out. All right, so now I'm just grabbing the masking tape transfer tape from shop.OcTAYber.com, pulling off a little piece, grabbing a piece of vinyl, and then just laying it down face first onto this. All right, so now here is our vertical sign that we're applying all this to. Now, let me just tell you, I did get this from JOANN'S, but I did have to go ahead and do a really light sanding over top of this. And then on top of that, I did do a thin coat of a polyurethane on top of this as well. As for the polyurethane that I did use the Crystalac Extreme Protection in the satin finish. Now, as far as our patterned permanent vinyl, this is rated to last outdoors for up to a year or so. However, you can apply a clear laminate over top of this, and that will actually extend the life on this to be much, much longer. However, since in reality, this is gonna be outside, it's gonna be under a covered front porch and be outside for maybe 1 month out of the entire year, I think it's gonna be okay to not use the laminate. However, do whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever you think would be the best fit for you. And I'm just gonna kind of space this out to be exactly where I think it should be. Thank you so much for watching this takeover. Do not forget to stamp that like button, as well as drop a comment down in that comment section below, just letting us know what you thought of today's project. Also, while you're at it, if you have not yet subscribed to Auntie Tay's channel, now's the perfect time to do so. You do not want to miss out on another episode of OcTAYber. Now, if you are wanting to learn how to use or master your Cricut cutting machine, you may want to head over to my channel and subscribe there as well. Just search on YouTube for Mr. Crafty Pants Cricut Tutorials, or I'm sure there's probably a subscription link down in that description box below. Thank you again. I'm just so appreciative of you for watching, and until next time, stay crafty.